Hey, Geometry. Here to talk to you today about geometric proofs involving congruent triangles. Before we do any of these proofs, I want to talk to you about three things I'm going to make sure I do for every proof. Number one, I'm going to make sure that I mark all given information. Now this could be congruent angles, congruent sides, perhaps parallel lines, etc. The second thing I'm going to make sure that I do is mark any implied information. Implied information could be vertical angles, it could be a shared side, or perhaps it could be alternate interior angles, etc. And the third thing I'm going to make sure that I do is complete my proof. Okay, now that we've talked about those three things, let's take a look at proof number one. Proof number one says, given side AB is congruent to side FG. I'm going to make sure that that information is marked on my proof. Then it says BC is congruent to GH. Make sure that's marked on my proof. And then side CA is congruent to side HF. In this picture, there's no implied information that we need to mark. Everything we need to mark has been marked. Now I'm going to complete my proof. I'm going to write down my given information. Now I'm going to look at my picture and see if I'm ready to use one of the congruence rules. And I am. We have enough information that's marked on our triangles to use SSS. So I'm going to copy down the names of these triangles, ABC, FGH, and write SSS. I'm now going to start to skip around a little bit. I'm going to jump down to proof number 3, where it says given side BC is congruent to side ZC. And side DC is congruent to side CX. Pardon me, I made a mistake right there. Sorry about that. Now, I'm going to mark any implied information. And in this picture, vertical angles are implied. So now that we've marked given and implied information, let's complete the proof. Line 2 is where we're going to talk about our vertical angles. I'm going to use 3 capital letters for each of the angles, just to be safe. First, angle BCD. Second, angle ZCX. Vertical angles theorem. Oh, excuse me. Taking a quick look again at our picture. We've got enough information to use one of the congruence rules, specifically SAS. There's proof number 3. The next one that I'm going to do is on page 2, proof number 9. In proof number 9, it says given angle GLK is congruent to angle JKL. All right, got that marked. And then angle G is congruent to angle L. Excuse me, angle G is congruent to angle J. There we go. And I'm going to mark the shared side that is implied here. So, moving on to the proof. Line 2 is where we're going to talk about the shared side. The shared side is capital K, capital L. And I have to say it's congruent to itself. The reason I write KL twice is because it belongs to both triangles. A shared side uses the reflexive property. I apologize for my poor spelling on this video. Now finally, we are ready to use one of our congruence rules. Specifically, we're ready to use AAS. The next one I'm going to do is on page 3, number 14. Number 14 says, given angle LOM is congruent to angle NPM, side LM is congruent to side NM, now we're going to mark the implied information, which is these vertical angles. So over in the proof, angle LOM is congruent to angle NPM, and side LM is congruent to side MN. Line 2 is where we're going to talk about the vertical angles. We're going to use 3 capital letters just to be safe. So the vertical angles in blue would be angle LMO and angle NMP. Vertical angles theorem. And now we are ready to use one of our congruence rules. Specifically, angle side. And the last proof that I'm going to do is number 15. Number 15 says, given side WX is parallel to side YZ. Really going to make these arrowheads stand out. And given side WX is congruent to side YZ. Now I'm going to mark some implied information. The first implied information would be the shared side right there. The other implied information would be found by highlighting the parallel sides, highlighting the shared side, which acts as a transversal, meaning that this angle and this angle are congruent. And in fact, those are alternate interior angles. So now for the proof. The given information now going to talk about the shared side. ZX is congruent to ZX. Remember, we write it twice because it's a member of both triangles. And that is the reflexive property. Line 3, going to talk about the alternate interior angles. Going to use 3 capital letters to be on the safe side. I'm going to say angle WXZ for this angle in the top right. And I'm going to say angle YZX for the angle in the bottom left. That is the alternate interior angles theorem that I just wrote. And finally, we can use one of our congruence rules, specifically side angle side. And that's going to do it for this video on proofs involving congruent triangles.